the Debutantes. I thought I would do a really quick DIY video. I actually had posted a picture of the item we're going to make on my Instagram, and people requested a video. This has got to be one of the easiest DIYs that I'm going to show you. Your kids could do this. It is so easy. So let me show you what we're going to be making. I have them over here. We're going to be making this ripped fabric and like ribbon garland. It's about 6 feet long, maybe a little bit longer. This is one of the ones I made. It's all whites and reds and greens. So there's that one. And then this is the first one that I made. And this is pinks and reds and that like crazy acid color green and a little bit of lace trim. And so this is what I'm going to show you how to make. It's easy peasy. And this is actually, this one's a little bit longer than 6 feet. I guess I didn't measure really well, but anyway. So what you're going to need is you're going to need some twine or any type of, you could use like clothesline rope. You could use anything that has, you know, a good weight to it. So you need some of this. I actually bought this at Joann's. It was $2.99 for this great big roll of twine. And I actually was able to use my Michael's 50% off coupon, so I only got it for $1.50. Then you're going to need some fabric. I'm actually using ribbon on the next one I'm going to make, but most of these are all made with fabric and just a little bit of hem tape, which I'll show you that in a second. What you'll need is a 1/4 yard of your fabric. And basically, you're going to cut strips of this, and then you're going to cut it in half, but I'll show you how to do that. So for each one strip, you'll get 2 pieces to cut. The thing that you need to pay close attention to when you're picking out your fabrics is how they go together, and you want some texture. So I'm actually going to use ribbon on this one. I haven't done that quite yet, so we'll see how this comes out. And you'll notice that this is, well, let's see if it'll focus. This is a gingham. This is a regular red grosgrain. Then I have green grosgrain, and then this is some of the seam binding I was talking about. This is actually vintage. This was my grandmother's. I've had this forever. So they're kind of similar, but you see this green has a little bit of brown trim. Then I have black grosgrain, and I have green black gingham. Now these are the 2 colors of fabric that I am going to use with this color combination. So let me just show you here on this one. So you see on this one, we have torn fabric. My camera does not want to focus today. You have torn fabric, and then you have like these little pieces of lace. This is actually hem, what is it called? Hem tape. And you can still buy this at Joann's. This is some black hem tape. I think this was $1.99 for 3 yards. And what this does is just this adds another element of texture to your garland, so you don't just have the fabric. So you see that. So I hope you understand what I'm saying. So these are the hem tapes that I bought. I don't think I'm going to use the beige in this one. I want to do like an all white and creamy beige one. And then I have the black, but I really like the black ribbon I'm using, but I wanted to show you you can use this as well. So we have our fabric, we have our ribbon. Now we need to prep our fabric. The good thing about this type of cotton fabric is it has a definite, I know there's a name for this, but you know, up and down and sideways. So if you cut a little tiny piece, like I'm going to cut the selvage off, you just make a little cut just like that. Then all you have to do is tear it, and it will tear a straight line just like that. So I did not measure this at all. I just kind of looked at it, and for the 6 feet long ones I used, let me see how many, I think I used like 6 different fabrics, and I needed about 30 pieces of each fabric. So you can do the math. So I'm going to cut, what is that, maybe 1 inch, like right there, and I'm going to cut a couple more pieces. And really you just do a little tiny notch like that, and they don't have to be perfect. This is a ripped fabric craft, easy sneezy. So then you're just going to start pulling your strips like this, and have lots of fabric dust everywhere. So this is what it's going to look like when you've tore it. It's a little hot, you know, a little curled up. You just want to flatten it out, and then you're just going to make stacks. Actually, you need to cut this in half because you're going to use half of this as your piece. So you have 2 pieces. So I'm going to cut my red fabric and my green fabric, and then I will cut the ribbon into the same length, which I'm gonna have to cut each piece of ribbon, so that's gonna take a little bit of time, but I will show you what I'm going to do with that. So now we're gonna prep our twine so we have something to tie this to when we're ready. So here's the end of the twine. I'm just going to make a little loop like that, and then I'm just gonna tie this into a knot, making sure that my end of my twine does not get lost in the knot. Basically, you just want a loop to hang that on, like so, like that. Okay, now to measure, easy, easy. From the tip of your nose to your outstretched arm, if you do it like this, can you see? Ooh, is about 1 yard. So you measure 1, and then 2, so that's 2 yards, and then from here I'm just right where I started. I'm just going to make another loop, and I'm going to tie it. There you go. And then I'm going to make sure that I cut the end off the bolt of twine and not cut the piece I just made. So now you have, sorry, I'm using the viewfinder to make sure I'm focused. You have your 2 ends, and now you're ready to tie your fabric on. So let me finish cutting everything out. I will show you how I'm going to cut the ribbon, and then I will come back and show you how I tie it on, which it could not be any simpler. Okay, I wanted to show you, I have trimmed all of the red pieces, and you can see there's, you know, strings dangling, and you're just going to want to trim those off. It does not have to be perfect. Do not trim every string off. You will go batty. So here's the stack, and I have not cut these in half. I smoothed them out. I made a big stack. They're not all the same, you know, they're a little frayed on the ends. I'm going to fold this in half, you know, as Belle is snoring. I apologize if you can hear her. And then I'm just going to cut them all at one time, and then I'm going to stack them like so. And I'm going to do that with the green fabric, and then again I'll come back and show you how I cut the ribbon. Okay, I have cut out 28 strips of the green, 28 strips of the red fabric, and now I am going to use some of this hem tape. You can see it's kind of lacy, but I am not going to unwind this all. If you notice, it's just about the same size as the strips I cut on the cardboard. So I'm going to take my scissors, I'm going to put them between the cardboard and the lace, and I'm going to cut that side, and I'm going to keep it all still on the cardboard if I can. Actually, I can probably take it off because it has a fold. Sorry. So just going to take this off, and it has that natural fold there from being on the cardboard. So, and I'm just going to cut right on that fold. Now, this is 3 yards. I'm not sure if I'm going to have exactly 28 strips. So we're just going to play it by ear, and you can see they are not all the same length. They don't need to be. This is handmade, something fun. So the next thing I did was I took all of my ribbons and I found the ends. I put all of the ends together so I can cut all of these ribbons at the same time. There are 5 ribbons that I have, and I have the ends. And then I'm just going to take one of the strips I've already cut as my guide. I'm going to hold it like this, and then I'm just going to start cutting. So I have my fingers right here between where I'm going to cut so that I don't lose the ends. And there you go, I have my first stack of ribbon. So now I need to cut 28 pieces of the ribbon. I'm using this as a guide. So now I have a stack of 5. I'm just going to keep doing that. I'll probably take a piece of the ribbon this time. I'm just going to reorganize these in my hand so I don't drop them. You could pull these like on the table, but I can't show you with the camera. Kind of pull it across and then snip like take your thing and snip, snip, snip. So let me see if I can redirect the camera and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so here's my kitchen counter. Here is the stack of the 5 ribbons. Here's the piece of fabric that I cut. So I still have them all together, and I'm just going to, again, it doesn't have to be perfect, just trim that, and then I'm just gonna pull it up again on the counter like so, and then I'm gonna cut again as my ice maker makes ice. So that may be an easier way for you to cut all of the ribbon. Again, the fabric I think is easier, but I really liked this gingham, and I'm making this particular one for myself, so that's what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna continue to cut. Now I have 2 pairs of scissors because these are crafting scissors. These are like my all-purpose paper scissors. I cut all kinds of like the twine with these. So these aren't that big of a deal. These are fabric scissors. If somebody uses my fabric scissors to cut paper or anything besides fabric, I tend to go a little nuts, shall we say. Everybody knows that my sewing scissors are only for fabric, and I think only one time has someone made the mistake and watched my head explode, and they've never made that mistake again. It's very important that you have fabric scissors. I mean, if you cut a lot of fabric that are only for fabric, nothing dulls fabric scissors like cutting on paper or anything else that I cut. I mean, I cut aluminum foil with these, I cut anything. These are just all-purpose crazy scissors. So anyway, I digress. So I'm just gonna keep on cutting these pieces, and then I will show you how I'm gonna set up the color waves and how I'm gonna start to tie this. Okay, so I have all of my pieces cut out. These are the pieces that I cut out for the one that I am making right now, and I've kind of laid them out in the way I think they're going to look good. I may tie them on like 1 or 2 rows on here and see if I like it. If not, the knot is so easy you can easily untie it and start over. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about picking out your fabric choices. The first one I made, which was the pinks and this crazy green, I did a solid, a polka dot, then this large scale ornament and print that had all of the colors with a white background, then the same scale polka dot, a solid, this is a tinier scale of a polka dot, and then I added the lace. And you can see we have a solid, a polka dot, a white, a polka dot, a solid, and then more white. And then the lace was really just added in for texture and to bring out a little bit of the pink in the ornament. So, and this is much cheaper to make with the fabric. I think a quarter of a yard of the Christmas fabric was on sale at Joann's. Was it November 5th right now of 2015. It's 50% off of a yard, so if you only get a quarter of a yard, some of these were less than $1. And you can see I have plenty of fabric to make more garlands, so you could probably get 2 to 3 garlands out of one bunch of fabric. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of fabric and a little piece of lace. So that's the pink and green one that I made. So then here is the next selection for the more of the, I guess the more traditional colors that I used. This is kind of a medium scale pattern, but it's a stripe and it has blacks and greens and whites, and it kind of is all the colors that we're using. Then I used a large scale polka dot, but with a white background. And then I used the red with the 2 green trees, and you can see the scale of these patterns is all different. These trees are quite large. This is more of a medium polka dot. And then the green with the candy canes is kind of a smaller print. And then we go back to a medium print with these adorable Santa Clauses. Are those not the cutest little Santa Clauses you've ever seen? And then the ho ho ho, which is more on the scale of this polka dot. Maybe the Christmas trees, a large scale. So we have medium, like this is kind of an all over scale, medium scale, large scale, small scale, medium scale, and a large scale print. And then you see I have a color, I have white, then 2 more solid, like, you know, the greens and the reds, then another white, so you can see how that goes, and then a red. Again, it's really the color that you most want to bring out. And then let me see if I can pull this one over. So these are the fabrics for this garland. And then I was able to add some of this very large lacy hem tape and some of this smaller green hem tape. And as I got about halfway through, I realized I was not going to have enough of the red and green lace to do every set with the lace, so I just went and untied the red and the green, and then I just did it on every other section. So here's a section that's just the fabric pieces, and then here's a section that has the lace pieces. It just adds a little extra texture. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about choosing your fabrics, because I know sometimes that's where people get stuck, is they don't know, you know, how to match fabrics. And really, I just took the bolts of fabric and I stacked them on top of each other on the cart to see if I liked the color selection. So here we have our strips, and I'm going to show you really how easy. You could definitely have your children help you. It's basically like tying your shoes. You just take the two pieces and you're going to make a single knot. Just like that, and then you just kind of adjust. The ribbon will kind of let you know where it wants to lay, and then you just tie a knot just like that. And then I'm just going to continue going with all of the pieces. There's no rhyme or reason. They can be close, they can be a little bit spaced. I do not like to see the twine. And then we're just going to adjust them just like that. So when you can see here, I have a solid, I have a pattern, I have a solid, a pattern, I have the lace. This is kind of a tiny pattern, but more of a solid, a pattern, a solid, and then a solid. But it's red, black, green, red, black, green, red, black, green. I thought I was going to want to do like all the reds together, all the blacks together, and all the greens together, but when I saw it all laid out, I didn't really care for that color combo, so it definitely pays to lay it out. So I'm just going to keep tying knots and just playing with it. And really, you can sit in front of the TV and do this. And all your knots do not have to be facing the same way. You just kind of want it to be fluffy and all over the place. So I am going to continue on with this pattern and see if I like it. And when I get some of it done, I will show you what it looks like. See, this one I'm having a little trouble because there's lots of strings. Don't stress out about it. Just tie the knot the best you can and trim the strings later. So that's what we have so far. Okay, so here is what it looks like so far with the ribbon. And really you just kind of run your hand through it and get it all puffy. So I do like the color combination. I have to say that the ribbons definitely aren't as full, and I'll show you the difference. So this is the ribbon, and then this is one of the torn fabric ones, and you can see it's just so much more fuller and fluffier. I'm gonna put them side by side and you can see the difference. Like I said, the torn fabric is cheaper and it's much fuller. I will probably have to use not quite double the materials, but obviously more materials using the ribbon than the fabric. So obviously the fabric is a no-brainer money-wise to make those. So what would I do with these after I get them all made? I make the buntings that say Mary or Believe or things like that. I've actually stenciled some on some old dictionary pages and made a bunting. So I would do like this, and then the bunting underneath. I'll probably show some pictures and maybe my home tour. Right now I'm just starting to craft for this year. So this is my easy torn fabric or ribbon garland. I hope you enjoyed this DIY. Please comment down below if you did, and I would love to see your pictures if you decide to tackle this project. So I'm glad you all joined me for this easy DIY. Please subscribe if you have not, and I will see all of you in my next video. Thanks, guys.